you know, Nice and Slow. He did some stuff from the Confessions album. He did You Remind Me. Then he went into Good Kisser. Now, I'm Good Kisser because I'm starting to hear it a lot more. I'm starting to warm up to the song. And shout out to Go Music, popping, Marcel and everybody. But I'm just now starting to really get into that song. So I guess I'm cool with it now. But I still don't think he should have performed it. For real.
Okay, yeah. I don't want to cut you off again. I'm still watching Kiki Woman. I had the TV shut down, though. Why does it look like she is going off on Rachel Dontel? If someone saw this episode, I don't have the volume up. So if someone saw this episode, tweet us. It looks like they are going back and forth.
What in the world?
They're arguing about something. But anyway,
does
go ahead.
Think she Oprah now? Does she think she official? And you got a BET afternoon show that come on the same time slot that Teen Summit and all the other shows came on? Let me find out. But so I'm gonna get my TV on a little bit. Yeah. So he performed. Then Chris Brown, he did Loyal with Tyga and Lil Wayne.
That was a very good performance. So looks like he's on his way to back up people. Mm-hmm. Well, until he got thrown out the party for being drunk.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about that too in a little bit. People, John Legend and Janae Aiko, they did a medley of their songs. He did All of Me and You and I, and then he performed a little bit of The Worst with her too.
I didn't see that. I missed it.
Yeah, so their performance was.
That must have came on before 8:30 because I didn't turn it on until 8:30. So these performances must have happened before 8:30 because I missed Usher's performance. I heard about it and I heard it was good, but I missed those two performances.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And then but one of the gotcha psych moments of the night happened when they kept saying that Beyonce and Jay-Z were going to be at the show performing. So Beyonce, being the iPhone maniac that she is, she taped the performance on her iPhone real quick of them doing Partition on the Run tour on Miami the other night, and she was like, "Let me edit this together real quick on my Final Cut Pro." And she just emailed the joint right in. She was like, "Let me send this in the email real quick so they can play at the end of the show." I was like, "What kind of videotape foolishness?" But anything for the ratings because this is the highest rated BET Awards in a minute. So I guess it was for the ratings. I guess for the psych and gotcha moments. Now Chris Rock though,
and they cut off, and and during that moment we had just learned that Bobby Womack passed away last Friday, and they actually cut off the tribute to him.
Exactly, because Tyrese was performing, and we was like, it was like he didn't even get into the full groove of the song yet, and they just cut him right off. I was like, BET, first it was the Lionel Richie moment when y'all spelled this name wrong, and then it was getting Chris Rock to host the show. Now, Chris Rock, we've seen him host like the VMAs back in the day and stuff, and he really turned up when he used to host the VMAs. But he's getting a little older now. He's of age, and this is no offense to the older generation people, but sometimes your jokes are just too stale to try to be fresh. It's like when you buy those rolls at Farm Fresh, and they say they about to expire the next day, but they be on sale for 50% off. That's what choosing him was like. Chris Rock is funny, and he had some funny moments in there, but he was, with older black comedians, they're always going to jab at the same jokes at time after time after time, like the T.I. and Floyd Mayweather thing. And Floyd Mayweather, why your shoulders were too hunched up on your neck? Like, his shoulders were like that suit wasn't tailored for him or something. Like, he got that from Oshkosh B'gosh and Outlet Mall or something. But it wasn't. It was like his shoulders and neck were meeting to play match and match or something. But so that's what happened. And then, but the Chris Rock, then he was talking about the Donald Sterling thing, and it was kind of like, it was like that year when Damon Wayans hosted, which was an oddball reason why he was even hosting the show.
That was very off.
Yeah, so it was, maybe Kevin Hart will host again next. It for even Kevin Hartlow's segment that he was doing with Kerry Washington wasn't even that funny.
I missed that too.
Yeah. So you didn't miss anything.
I really need to watch this encore at 8 p.m.
But so that was the BET Awards, people. Now, one of the moments of the BET Awards that Mona Scott probably had something to do with, because she working with Mitch Moscato with Nicki and stuff like that. So I'm pretty sure she got her crew to write Nicki Minaj's acceptance speech when she won Best Female Hip Hop Artist. And Nicki was up against Charlie Baltimore, which I'm still scratching my head how she even got a nomination. This is the same. I'm still trying to figure out how Charlie got nominated back in 2002 at the Grammy Awards when she was nominated for an album, The Diary of Charlie Baltimore, whatever, The Diary, that album. It never came out. It was only in mixtape form, but it never came out. But she was nominated for that album at the Grammy Awards. And I was like, how she get nominated? Y'all should have nominated Vita then, for all I know. But she got nominated that year, and Eve was nominated and all of that. But this year at the Hip Hop Awards, you had Angela Hayes, you had Iggy, you had Eve, and you had Charlie, Chuck, and then you had Nicki. And of course, Nicki was going to win. She won. They should just call it the Nicki Minaj Hip Hop Female Award. Which I've been saying for the longest time, because she's only going to be the only one that's going to be winning it for the longest time. Well,
let's see what happens. Remy Ma is set to be released from prison on July 31st.
Exactly. And this is like the first year, though, where Nicki kind of had a little piece of competition, though, because, Iggy's been popping lately, so she kind of, could have went either way between those two, but, of course, they're going to give it to Nicki, though, because, of political reasons. I'm not going to get into it on the show, but...
she's black.
Exactly. Monique said it, people.
That's the different reasons we all know.
But Nicki, she was saying her acceptance speech and stuff, and her speech was all over the place. Now, I don't know if she missed the cue in her speech or something, because first she was talking about...
her speeches are always all over the place.
Yeah, she was talking about she was happy to win, and then she was like, if you hear Nicki Minaj verse, Nicki Minaj wrote it and stuff like that, and she was saying no shade, but she was saying shade but no shade, whatever, but something crazy.
Well, at least she wasn't as disrespectful as she was last year.
Yeah.
With all those gospel artists and stuff there, so at least she was a little bit more tasteful and a little bit more classy. Wasn't step your dick game up and all that stuff. That type of talk wasn't happening.
Exactly.
This year, I was really cringing every time she said something. Every time something came out of her mouth. So, Yolanda Adams was very, 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 taken back and offended by her performance.
Yes. So
in her speech.
Yes. So she has come a long way, people. The wig glue has been making a very, ever since she took that wig glue off, it's been making an improvement on her, her life, people. But then she was talking about something about she almost lost her life. Like, she was talking about how she almost died a few days before the show and stuff. Like, I was like, what?
Yeah.
And and Nicki, I like Nicki, people, I do. But I think she's on that same Chris Brown medication where Chris Brown, he acts crazy, and then he acts somber. Nicki, she acts somber, but then she just takes the crazy to another level, but she has stories that, rotates in her head, though. So it's like she has a Rolodex of stories that she just pull out of her head, and she'll just tell a story real quick. She, like she said, she is an actress. So, I'm still trying to figure out how she almost died, last week or whatever,
Well, I guess that's between her and God.
Exactly. And then I was like,
God knows, only He knows. Because again, like you said, that whole story didn't make any sense. It was all over the place. Her speech was all over the place. And then she's talking about she writes her own raps. Everyone is talking about that as a dig at Iggy.
Yeah. So she took the social media, she took to Twitter, and she clarified that she wasn't talking about Iggy or one person in particular. She was just talking about the nature of the female rap game of, everybody.
And I honestly thought that she was saying taking a dig at Lil Kim.
Yeah. See, and that's what I was thinking too. I was like, I mean, you could be saying it towards Lil Kim, but Lil Kim wasn't nominated though. But then,
yeah, she wasn't. But there's always been some type of quiet hush beef between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since she stepped on the scenes, and everyone knows that it was known that I guess when Biggie was alive, he did write a lot of Little Kim's raps, verses, and all those things. So I thought, I was like, well, shit, is she rehashing these old teas with Lil Kim? That's who I honestly thought that she was talking about. Even though Lil Kim was not nominated for anything, that's exactly who I thought she was talking about. And then all week, it's been that the dig was actually at Iggy. So
yeah, and then it could probably been Charlie Baltimore too, because Word on the Street back in the day, Charlie, she could write and stuff, but Word back in the day, Murder Inc. used to do some stuff for her too and stuff. But but in this situation though, even if before Nicki clarified that it wasn't about Iggy, it was kind of looking like Nicki was turning into Lil Kim and Iggy was turning into Nicki, where when Nicki came out and she was the newcomer, Lil Kim was kind of being mad at her for being like the new girl on the scene and stuff. So that's what it was looking like in this instance. But now that we know, it was probably directed towards Kimberly Jones and her new spawn that she just had. We will give her a pass on that. So, people, y'all can play our Nicki Minaj records again. She's not a hater, allegedly.
Well,
and then
let's talk about some other stuff, because we got a lot of stuff from free people.
Yeah. So that Chris Brown situation. Now, Chris Brown, he was showing out at the BET Awards. Him and Karate Chop were there. They were having a good time. He fresh out of I keep saying prison, but he was just in jail. It might as well been in prison. He wasn't all by himself and stuff, so he might as well have been in prison. But he was, on Con Air and all of this and that and the other. Picked up some weight in jail and stuff like that. You can tell he haven't got his texturizer juice in his hair yet, because his hair not as curly as it used to be. So, it's very pneumatic. But he performed and stuff like that, and he had a good time. But after the BET Awards, at the after parties, he was shown being carried out of the parties and stuff. So I'm wondering, is his sobriety in trouble? Because, he just got out of jail, and now he, getting carried out of the clubs, and he still got that trial when he, pled not guilty, which we talked about last week when he pled not guilty. So now it's going to trial for that assault back in DC, a few months ago last year. He's now going to trial for that in September. So they're going to be looking at this, because they have a heavy eye on Chris Brown and every activity that he goes through. So when they see this, it's not going to be a good look.
No, it probably won't be. It probably won't be. We called it last week. We talked about how long it was going to take for him to do something. So, I don't know what else to say about him. I can understand, you want to turn up a little bit, have some fun. You have been in jail for the BET Awards, but you still have to learn how to conduct yourself, in public. This is the reason why you were in jail, because it's about knowing how to handle yourself and conduct yourself and act appropriately. So, we'll just keep on watching him and see how it unfolds.
Exactly. So moving on to another story that happened right after our show last week. Now, Zendaya, she just we were talking about her and all the reasons she should be in the Aaliyah movie. People got mad at me for saying I was talking bad about Aaliyah, and I don't care. But Zendaya, now she has backed out of the Aaliyah movie. She was supposed to be in the biopic, and she has backed out of the movie now because of scheduling conflicts, aka she got bullied out of the movie role, and now she doesn't want to do it. And
well, you can't blame her.
Exactly. You got the family acting a mess. They after the coins, but the coins are not going to come towards them, because y'all still not getting no money off the royalty checks. Hell, y'all not even getting no royalties off of Try Again. They play that song every 20 minutes on Sirius XM sometimes. So, if you're not getting no money off of that, then hey, it is what it is. But, you know, this movie's not going to make